actually have a schedule for August, a meeting with all of the SROs, myself, just to go through, things that we learned this year, things that we can do better, make plans for next year, and so we can certainly open that invitation up to the board if you're looking for an opportunity to meet all of our SROs.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
I have a comment, I don't have a question. Oftentimes when we vote on things like these, for me, it's a hope. You vote on the hope. And I remember going back to my original statement about 3 years ago, a young lady, I think she was a Lincoln student, and it was around the time of George Floyd, and her father was law enforcement. He was a deputy sheriff, and he brought her to school. And she was, I don't want to say being picked on, but it was a height of a situation around our country that was happening, and some of the law enforcement weren't looked at favorably. And she felt that when the deputy actually reached out to me. We had a conversation, and that's why I made the statement about being proactive and going into the schools and having that relationship with students, and it being a safe space and a safe conversation with some curriculum and some programming, so they can understand what you're doing. Law enforcement is not always bad. I won't say always bad, but just not bad in general. So my vote will go on the hope that happens, and it's not reactive, it's proactive, and you get in those buildings as much as you can and have conversations with the young people, the youngest of people, so they can gain that respect for law enforcement and know that you're, because I know you personally, Joe, so just beyond the badge and some of the stories that they see on TV and just locking people up and know that's not a thing. So it'll go on the hope that that's a thing in the future. So.
A lot of the schools do have that already, where they invite the SROs in to come talk to each classroom and stuff. You have it in the elementary also. And not just the SROs, but they invite also the other officers that we have. And a lot of the other community partners that we have also do a lot of talks, and they invite officers. I mean, this last year, I think we had, I can't remember what it's called. And not just the SROs, yeah, so we had multiple SROs and also other officers that came and talked. And it was a great event that we did. We had most of the elementary.
Christmas stuff.
Yep.
I think one of the concerns we came up with the last time this came before us is that it's up to the teacher to invite the officer to come speak to a classroom, and we need to flip it so that it's not just per their request, that it's happening. I mean, I'm an old school dare kid, so, the law enforcement came to all of us, so I think that's kind of what we're hoping to see. It's, now that we have more bodies.
That could also be on our administrators to help make sure that they get, like our building principals, like, hey, make sure that you plan for this, or that we want to make sure that every building is, every classroom getting that opportunity too. I mean, it kind of can work collaboratively in a lot of ways. So.
And I think we all agree that presence and relationship are the keys.
Yes.
All in favor then of approving the amended school resource officers agreement for the 23-24 school year, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Our last consent agenda item is the Success Link MOU, and this is the school-based mental health services, and the superintendent's recommendation is, and it has changed from what is in our book. There has been a change, a good change, and the Board of Education the superintendent's recommended the Board of Education approve the MOU with Success Link for school-based mental health services at a maximum cost of $600,000 per year for the 23-24 school year and the 24-25 school year. So there would be no raise for the 2-year period. And that is the recommendation. Can I get this on the table?
So moved.
And we have Sheena here again, and I think there's some other people that can help us understand that. But so if you are looking in your packets, it is a set price for 2 years, which is awesome.
Absolutely. I want to invite the team up, all four. A lot of great minds around this topic. Donna, come on up. You don't get to... All right, so this is, we're extending this essentially from a 1-year contract to a 2-year contract. I'm going to have Brad speak a little bit on the funding because that plays a critical role into, I guess, the finances of this. But the one statistic I want to make sure I share from my seat in this first year learning the role. First of all, we all know the importance of mental health support for our students, but we just... At the beginning of this meeting, Brad shared with me that we saw a 27% increase on the number of sessions from last year to this year. So we are, again, seeing the need, honoring the need, and I'm just really excited that, Waterloo gets to be innovative with our school-based mental health practices, and we hopefully can continue to do great work. So I'll let Brad share a few things and open it up for questions.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, my name is Brad McCollin. I'm the Executive Director of Success Link, which is the organization over Success Street, the school-based health clinics that we have east, west, and Carver. Those are our main sites. If you go in and see them, they look like more of a clinic. We've got a receptionist, a bank of offices, an exam room. But we see students in all the schools in Waterloo. They work kind of in a hub-spoke system that we have going here. We have mental health services. That's our primary service that we offer. We've got health services. We contract with People's Community Health Clinic, substance abuse with Pathways, and then we have a host of other services that come in and rotate through our sites. We've been operational since 1994. We've had mental health contracted through Blackhawk London Mental Health. We just serve as the fiscal agent over that and the organizational piece of that. Currently, we have 11 full-time mental health counselors that serve all the schools, and I'll let Alyssa and Autumn talk a little bit more about that. But in terms of just strict numbers, in 21-22, we saw almost 550 students for 5,500 visits. This year, it looks like we're going to serve close to 700 students for about 7,000 visits. We added a component this last year of an intake coordinator who does all of the paperwork that the staff used to do. So that frees their time up so that they're not chasing down paper and calling parents. They can just see students a lot more rapid fire. And so as a result of that, we've really increased our numbers this last year. And like I said, I don't have the exact numbers yet, still wrapping up the end of the year, but it looks like it'll be 700 students.
So why are these numbers increasing?
Partly because we have the services available, and I'll let Alyssa and Autumn talk to that. They probably know the more specifics of why this is happening, but I'll let them talk to that.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Frutnick. I'm the manager of Behavioral Health Services with Blackhawk Grundy Mental Health Center. I oversee our school-based therapists, and I get to be a school-based therapist at East High. We're seeing an increase in students because we're seeing in the recognition of mental health needs across the district. We have a really strong partnership with the administrators and the school counselors in the buildings that we're in. And so they're identifying the students that are expressing needs or demonstrating needs, and they're referring them to us after conversations with their guardians about what they're noticing and what's going on. We then get to follow up with the help of Maddie, the intake coordinator, to collaborate on getting services arranged. So really we're seeing that increase because our partnership remains strong with the school counselors and with the administrators on identifying those students who are having a variety of needs and getting them connected to services as we bridge those barriers to outpatient care. Because if you're at school during the school day and you're connected to us, we're able to see you for therapy.
So why are the student needs increasing?
It's a lot of reasons to that question. We've got a lot happening in our community. We've got a lot of things happening in social media. We've got a lot of needs happening across society that maybe increase student needs. Getting connections, building connections, addressing things like grief, loss. We think about coming and going through the pandemic and the amount of change that was encountered at that. We see grief, we see anxiety, we see depression, we see trauma histories in students and helping to address those. So there's a multifaceted that's happening in student lives that we need to address and we need to intervene early. We know the earlier we intervene, the better the outcomes.
So do you engage the teaching staff?
Absolutely. So we have when we collaborate on students, we're connecting first and foremost, most often with the school counselors. From there, we'll connect with teachers, administrators, other agencies and entities that are involved in the student's care. So being a part of Blackhawk Gurney Mental Health Center, we're not serving students in a vacuum. We are collaborating and connecting. And some of those connections might be with a prescriber that they're involved with, whether it's at Blackhawk Gurney or within Unity Point as an entity or another agency, might be with a Beavis worker that they have somewhere with another agency. So it's not just us treating them in the school environment and coming in and seeing them and exiting. We're collaborating, we're connecting, we're attending IEP meetings and problem-solving meetings, 504 meetings, tiered meetings that we're getting invited to, but also connecting and collaborating on entities that are serving them maybe outside the school setting so that we're not treating them in a vacuum.
I guess what I'm getting at is perhaps we need a cultural change such that we always teach from the perspective of a glass half full instead of half empty. Seems like we have way too much gloom and doom in society in general, but that doesn't need to be parlayed to the kids. Some of them think we live in a bad country because, despite the fact that most of the rest of the world wants in. They risk their lives to get in. So we don't live in a bad country, but that's the public narrative. They feel that, the world's going to end before they grow up because of the climate change alarmists. They think that they're going to be shot in school. I mean, if I was in that environment, I guess I'd be depressed too. But that's about adults. That's not about kids. We need a cultural shift that way every day, every teacher share with these students. You live in the best country in the world. You have the most opportunity today than anywhere else, any place in the world, regardless of anything. And that needs to be your baseline. Yes, there's pros and cons to that, but the textbooks we buy, they're gloom and doom as well, the ones I've seen. They're not positive. So anything you can do to culturally shift to schools being a positive environment eliminates the need from the beginning. Not eliminates, reduces the need. Fewer students are going to need mental health, and I know that definition's expanded now, and that's one of the reasons there's more come in under that umbrella. But fewer students who need it if they come to school excited every day, excited about their future, have vision, have hope. So I don't know what you can do, if anything, to shift the whole teaching culture, but it's an uphill battle because of the public narrative that people have vested interest in being negative, but it seems to me like we just need a glass half full overall philosophy, and you can argue all you want at an adult level, but let the kids out of it.
I know Waterloo does a great social emotional program, so I will let Sheena handle that. But there's a lot of, happening social emotionally, and we do handle a lot of that in our therapy sessions when it comes to healthy coping and navigating stressors in a way. So those are things that we are aware of when we meet with students individually, but thank you.
Are there kids that are referred that you're not able to serve due to numbers?
In terms of numbers that we don't have space to be able to serve them. Yes, there are times during the year that we don't have availability because of the way our caseloads are looking and our availability throughout
It's a good ratio of staff to number of clients or visits, or where are we at now versus what you would say a optimal ratio would be?
Yeah, so in terms of how many students could one therapist serve, is that your question?
Yeah.
On average, we hover about 40 to 50 students being served at any one time by each one therapist. And so those are always rolling numbers, right? Because as we have a student being served, we're discharging and we're taking on. $40 to $50,
Is an optimal number?
yes. Yep,
So we're at an optimal number now? or-
yes.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
So 11 is where you're comfortable. We wouldn't need more providers, is what you're,
Oh, I would always take more providers.
I mean, that's kind of my thought too, because, I mean, I know kids who have been approved, and not so much that they haven't been able to get served, but that they've gone elsewhere because it is
Yeah.
harder,
Yes.
to get in. And so where is everybody housed, and is everyone housed together, or is that on there?
Yes. So we serve your elementary, middle, and high schools throughout the district. So we're at 18 buildings.
Right.
Those 11 therapists are spread across 18 buildings. So Cunningham has 2 days, Becker has 2 days, Highland 2, Irving has 1, and Lou Henry has 1. So those are our only 1 days right now. Everybody else has either 2, 3, or 4 days of therapy coverage, to be able to have those providers be at that building dedicated to that for a full day.
And there's dedicated office space in every building?
Yep. Yeah, sometimes we're sharing, it might be the AA's out that day and that's the building we're using, or we're using a conference room, especially when we think about our elementaries. We're often using a lot of shared space, not necessarily dedicated space for only our therapists to utilize.
Right.
Yep.
That's those cool, like, weird spaces that we have in the middle, right, that can be partitioned off. I've seen some that, anyway, go ahead.
I was going to say, so it seems like if 2 is our number, that it would be ideal to get to every building having 2.
Yes.
If we have buildings only getting 1, it doesn't seem like we're probably serving as much as we probably should.
And we've really built this program over the years. I started here 10 years ago, we had 4 school-based mental health therapists. And so to us to have 14 has been a huge growth. And as we've grown, we've continued to identify more provider time at these buildings and been able to grow that.
I just like to
Absolutely.
see that number be equitable across the buildings.
Yes.
I mean, it's really,
But I don't think the need is equitable.
I don't either.
Right.
I would guess the need isn't,
I don't know, I mean.
maybe.
I mean, if you only got 1, it's kind of surprising, maybe everyone only has 1 day, you know?
I'm surprised.
Yeah. That's why I would,
So speaking of equitable, how many mental health counselors of color do we have on staff yet?
Yeah, we don't currently have any mental health counselors of color. That is an area of focus of ours. We've worked hard in our partnership with UNI with their mental health counseling and their social work counseling program. We also work with Walden University, who has a mental health counseling program, to expand and increase our individuals of color. We've had individuals we've tried to recruit that have moved on to other communities.
What about demographics look for our students of need, for the percentage?
Will you share those demographics?
Yeah, of those who are served?
Correct, of color. Yeah, the demographics, yeah.
So during, and again, this is from 21-22 school year, so we saw 34% of our visits were from African-American students. The district average is 29%. That year, we saw 52% Caucasian, and then the rest is kind of mixed in there with Native American, Hispanic, and Pacific Islander.
So what's that number?
Around 14, 50, 60, around 13 to 14, 15%, right around that part, yeah.
So our students who are, English is not their second language, that number seems kind of low, but what services do they have offered for them? If they may not be able to get in, where do they go? I'm just curious.
Yeah,
You probably
so
have to answer that one. Yeah.
we do offer mental health therapy, right? We have translation services that we can utilize. We historically have worked with Embark, And also, we work with the River Arc, if we've got other resources that we need to assist families with or wraparound care. And again, with our collaboration with the school counselors too, to make sure that we're all working together to meet these student needs. It's the staff that are identifying the students that get referred to us, and it's us connecting then with those families and those guardians about their services. So we also work with school counselors and administrators to identify the students that are getting referred and connected to our care. Yeah.
My last question is, kind of going back to what Stacy was asking, what's the wait time as far as if a student tries to get help, but they can't get services because they just don't have the ability
At
to?
current, we don't necessarily keep a wait list because we don't want a delayed wait time. We want to connect them to who in the community is available and can serve them. And so we don't keep a long wait list. One of the really cool things that we've been able to do this last year, a year and a half, with Maddie joining us as an intake coordinator, is turn around the time from referral to accessing services to be within days. Because it used to be us staff seeing students, processing referrals, making contact with families, and doing a lot of chasing paperwork while we're trying to meet with students. We've been able to flip that and optimize our time meeting with students and having an intake coordinator working with parents to get consent forms. And as soon as we have that back, they're getting slotted in our schedule and next available. And so that's really turned around this, I have availability, I get a referral as fast as that parent can fill out that paperwork, and we've done a lot electronically to help ease that burden as well. They can get slotted in our schedule often within a week.
Okay. How many males are on staff?
How many males do I have on staff?
Yes.
I have 2.
Okay. All right. Are the numbers for males increasing? And what are also those numbers for our students of color or males?
Yeah. I don't think we've got the breakdown of...
I don't know if I've got it here, but I know in the past, it's actually right around 50 and 50. I mean, it's either 48, 52. It's really quite evenly split typically by each year, yeah.
This last semester, we served 275 female students and 209 male students.
Interesting.
In first semester of this year. And again, I think it's important to note too, right, that it's the referral source that's getting us the referral. So we partner a lot with the school counselors on the students that we're serving and identifying those students and collaborating on needs and communicating all those components.
So how does it break down by grade level?
We have a report that we compile every year that identifies gender, race, age, buildings, school served. So if we look by grade level, I have it built out by buildings, but if we look at like pre-K, we served 15 kindergartners first semester, 31 first graders, 34 second graders, 43 sixth graders. So we have this report that breaks us down by specific grade and the number of students that we're serving at that grade level.
So you serve middle school too, don't you?
Elementary, middle, and high, yep.
So how are the middle school? Are
It's
they?
48 seventh graders, 51 eighth graders, 50 ninth graders.
The middle school tends to be the highest numbers.
And we
Okay.
see a lot of higher numbers in our transition years.
Yeah.
Sometimes as we look at sixth graders, ninth graders, seniors, right, we're kind of seeing some of those increase in referrals for those students in those years.
Do you have experience with any other districts?
In terms of our, like, collaboration with them,
Just comparative, the needs and the numbers and, where the strengths and weak points might be of our district versus others?
we've been invited to the Iowa Best Conference, and so that's the Department of Ed actually invited us 2 years ago to talk about our school-based therapy program because it is very unique in the state of Iowa and how we are able to provide services to students free of charge. We take you regardless of your insurance coverage, and those being really big hallmarks that are not as prevalent in the state of Iowa. Many entities that are coming in to provide school-based therapy sometimes are only serving those with Medicaid, or have very small referral numbers, or are only housed 1 or 2 days a week in a whole district, or sharing among districts for some of these positions. And so to be able to share our model of care, how we collaborate, how we target students on Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, we've got a pretty unique model in the state of Iowa We've talked to Des Moines, is huge. They have 100 school-based mental health therapists the last time we talked to them. So we do talk to some of these other entities that have bigger programs to get an idea of how they have done this, where does their funding come from, what makes this work and doesn't work.
The other thing is the students are seen 12 months. It doesn't stop when school ends. So this week, there are a number of therapists at Hoover, since that's where our middle school evolved for, and the students can continue to be seen throughout the summer.
Well, thank you. It's such an important area, and it's becoming more and more critical. I just hope that we're all strive to work you guys out of a job.
Yes.
So you said, is 10 sessions the norm? Is that kind of what you're saying? I'm sorry, I was trying to,
That works out to be about the average.
okay.
Yeah, it always seems like whatever we serve, if we see 400, we've seen 4,000 sessions, give or take. But that seems to be about what it works out to be, yeah.
Okay, and are parents involved in the sessions? Do they come, or do you video call, or?
Yep, all of the above. We'll do some, therapists trained in TheraPlay or PCIT, and that's highly parental involved, and so they'll come to the school and sometimes have joint sessions or after school hours or meet us at Blackhawk Grundy and be able to do that. And parents have to consent to treatment in order for their child to be involved, and so we have regular contact with them as we talk about their care and how things are going or concerns happening at home or giving parent education or guidance on things we're noticing and how can we help as a whole entity.
Thank you. My only other question is if we could have access to the report that you generated, if it's broken down by school, and is it broken by school as well?
Yep.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yep, we pull that twice a year. Happy to hand it off.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? I really appreciate all you guys have done, and that's amazing it's amazing that the numbers have jumped, but that means we're helping more kids, and I just think that is critical, because like you say, if we start it young, it maybe won't develop as badly or more positively as they age. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you all for what you do. And so if we can take a vote, all in favor of approving the MOU successfully, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all very much. Keep up the good work. Okay, that concludes the consent agenda items. The next item is Mr. Matt O'Brien waiting in the back patiently. I see him. And this is the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 65 workstations from Dell at a total cost of $100,886.50 and a 3-year agreement for Go Guardian software at a cost of $52,200 per year.
So moved.
Second.
And Matt, nice to see you. Oops, there we go. Nice to see you all as well.
So there are two parts to the proposal in front of you tonight. There's a workstation component. Workstations are basically beefy or faster desktop computers. We don't buy a lot of desktop computers any longer in the district. In fact, it's been a while since we've bought desktops. Typically, obviously, we're buying mobile devices. But in the cases outlined in front of you, these are cases where we actually need desktop computers for performance reasons to serve the programs that they're actually serving. So you'll note that there's actually several programs that these are destined for. So there's 2 WCC programs, and those are replacing existing computers in those programs. Those computers are 4 to 6 years old, due for replacement. And then there's also a portion of those that will go to the new Ignite program at the 2 high schools at East and West High School. So that's the first half of the proposal, is the workstation computers. The second half is a renewal of the district's Go Guardian software, which is the software that we use for filtering and also classroom management for all of our Chromebooks. So it's for 10,000 licenses for 3 years. That software for classroom management, if you're not familiar with that, that gives teachers some control while the students are in their classroom to be able to do do things like close open tabs, push out bookmarks, control some filtering settings, basically having some technological controls for the students that are in their classroom right then. So both of those components are what's before you tonight.
Are the advanced manufacturers, are those geared for CAD?
Yep.
For CAD?
So all of the programs that this is for, all 4, 3, depending on how you count Ignite, are really call for similar specifications in that a higher-end video card, which, as you said, for advanced manufacturing involves a lot of graphics modeling. Autodesk, AutoCAD obviously requires higher-end processing, so it's a higher-end processor than we would typically get, higher-end video card, more memory, all three of those components.
So we're speccing those to what we need, and maybe a little bit higher than what we need so that they don't fall out as we
Correct.
update the, or see, like, if you're not careful, we're lag behind, you get an update in the CAD software, and then now you're behind.
You're exactly right. Those CAD software is a very, what I would call, resource-hungry software, so you're 100% correct that the resources that it takes is much, much more, and it's easy to get behind from.
Yep, okay, good.
So the components that are associated with the Ignite program are what? These workstations over there?
Yeah, so of those workstations, 8 of those will go towards East Ignite program, 8 will go to West Ignite program. Ignite consists of multiple modules that the students are rotating through. So some of those modules have computer components that the students actually use. So there's actually a CAD module that's part of Ignite that obviously isn't nearly as in-depth that the students would get into at the WCC program, but they would use that. There's some CNC stuff, some robotic stuff, which also requires some higher-end specifications. So
PLC or VLC type stuff, maybe.
Yep. So basically, a higher-end computer is necessary for most of the programs there. We wanted to just specify them all the same to allow us to be able to interop, exchange and have all of the software installed on all of the machines, as opposed to buying, 5 higher-end ones and 3 lower-end ones. It just made sense to specify them all the same, as Jesse said, erring at the higher end of the specifications.
So will our Ignite programs look like the current one?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by the current one?
The one downtown at
TechWorks.
Absolutely. That's absolutely the goal, is it's kind of a replica of that. Obviously, Jeff has talked with you all kind of at length of kind of the vision piece of this. So this is just the technology component that's required to do the modules that you all previously approved.
So the other physical elements, the hydraulics,
Pneumatics and mechanics.
hydraulics, and electrical displays, labs, those are purchased separately by the program and the computers that support them.
So I'll admit that I have a fraction of this piece. Jeff, we may have to get Jeff involved to answer some of your questions. But what you all previously approved the purchase of, kind of the package that you bought from the vendor, included certain software and also included certain accessories that then these computers will hook to. So the computers were, as part of that agreement, needed to be provided by us. These are the agreements so that was part of the agreement that the board previously approved. All of those pieces you all already approved. These are just the computers to hook to those pieces to run the software.
Sure, the computers were separated out, but if they were...
So we're providing the computers, we're providing the furniture. Some of those pieces were separated out from the master agreement of the other package that you all already approved.
Controllers that would interface between the hardware of the guy and the software computer on our side. So this is that piece of it, but that interface would come from our program in with those other pieces. So,
Correct.
Yeah. Which makes sense. That would, that's not really your forte to do.
I would hope we didn't purchase things that weren't compatible. I would think we wouldn't do that.
And that's kind of his area. He would be wanting the interface, figure out how to do all the interfacing there.
It's just an interesting division though from a maintenance standpoint because the troubleshooting really is going to be done by your office. And there's less troubleshooting, I assume, by the rest of the physical components.
Yeah, right.
So that's going to be done by somebody else. So there's that.
Correct. And this really is, Ignite really is, in terms of internal departments, really a partnership between Ed Services with Jeff and CTE. Zach Kelly obviously has had a huge role in this, and I'm bringing forward, obviously, the actual technology portion of it.
And as far as the Go Guardian, what did we pay? I know it had listed that we got a good discount for the 3-year renewal. What was it when we did it in 2020?
It went, gosh, I should have brought that exact cost. It went up, I think, like around it was less than $2 a seat.
Wow.
Of an increase from what we paid last time. So I think it was really, gosh, maybe 4 to 5% actually increased from last time, but that was a 3-year agreement.
Right.
So obviously the rate of inflation has been greater than the 4 to 5%.
Right.
And I will also say, maybe I shouldn't say publicly, but I'll say the AEAs actually went out to bid for a larger state consortium recently, which I was actually, the reason I was going to bring this to you sooner, but I was kind of waiting for that AEA process to play out, and the pricing that we got for our renewal was actually much better than they received for a larger purchase that they were trying to negotiate on part of the state. So I feel really good about the numbers before you.
Great. Good job.
Yeah, I think maybe in the future it might be good to split these into 2 different buckets on motions, because one of them supporting pure classroom programming and one of them kind of supporting our overall computers, IT security. So it might be good to list those things separate, because that's 2 different entities that we're dealing with here. Are both important, but it might be nice to have that kind of split out.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I honestly lumped them together just because they were, compared to some of the packages I bring you, they were relatively small, so that's why I lumped them together, but I can certainly split those out in the future.
I'm just thinking, when we look at the cost of a program, it'd be easier to come back through and look at, okay, this is the computers for the classroom piece of it versus this other security portion that's in there, but it's fine for now. It's just in the future it might be...
You're not proposing divide the question right now?
No, in the future.
Okay. All right.
My question every time, so what happens to the old PCs then, that are being replaced?
Yeah, so in this case, we're only replacing just the WCC ones, because some of these are new, obviously. We don't have a home yet for all of those. Honestly, there's a handful that are just going to need to be retired. They're not really useful any longer. I'll tell you, in the past, some of the things that we've done with the higher-end workstations is, like the robotics club has taken several of them. Again, they're higher-end machines, so it's still better than kind of a standard desktop, even though they are 4 or 5 years old. So we'll be looking at purposes such as those until they're finally exhausted of their useful life.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions? All right. All in favor then of approving these 2 purchases, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Our next item is Exhibit J, which is the purchase of a van, and we see Zach Kelly here that will come up and give us some details. And the superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the purchase of a 2023 Ford Transit 250 van at a cost of $51,195 from Dick Witham Ford.
So moved.
Second.
And Zach, give us details, please.
Good evening, everyone. I wasn't planning on taking this one to the board, but I had this come up last week, kind of last minute. So I had one of our dealerships reach out to us that we deal with a lot of our purchases, and he said, hey, I got somebody that backed out on this van, this cargo van. would you guys be interested in it? And we kind of talked into some more details, and of course I asked what the asking price was, and he came back at $51,195, and this would, we've been having issues with just the order banks opening up for vehicles with government fleet pricing. So this isn't a government fleet price, but it's just the fact that we don't know. It's kind of the uncertainty when it'll come out, the fleet pricing, and when we'd be able to receive them. So that was kind of the thing that sparked everything, and I did get, you can of course purchase some throughout the state of Iowa at a higher price. As you see, the other competitor was $65,000 and some odd change. So that's, and I discussed this with the facility members, and everyone was good with this. It's just this van that is currently used as an electrician's vehicle. The floorboards are starting to rust, and it's crazy to see a 2009 do that, but in the state of Iowa, you'll have that with the winters. So that's what I propose, if there's any other questions.
Is there any use, like with small repairs of the main floor, that we could utilize that in any other aspect of the district?
To the extent that this one has, and the mileage, just the in-town driving, it's best just to trade it in. I wasn't given a very high trade-in value for it, which isn't included in this cost, but it was about $600 trade-in, so.
Wow. So just remind us, what else do we need that's coming down the pike as far as vehicles? Because this came up upon us, we got lucky, and I know that we've been on a waiting list for things, so.
We have, and that brings up two things. The 3 Ford pickups that I came to the board with last fall, Ford came back saying, we're only allowed one of these, so I couldn't even order the whole 3 that we had taken to the board. So that's became an issue, but also we've got, so coming down the pike, I counted there's about 6 of them that we will be updating, and 2 of them would be technology, so that'd be a total of 8. Technology has some vehicles that we are trying to upgrade as well, so it'd be roughly around 8 that will, as soon as the order bank opens up, we'll get some ordered.
Okay. Any other questions for Zach?
Did you drive it here?
I did not. Nope, it's still sitting at the dealership, so.
Okay. All in favor then of the purchase of the Ford Transit van, please state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Then the next item on our agenda is Exhibit K, which is the East High School baseball field lighting. And again, we have Zach for questions, and the superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Education accept the recommendation from the Facilities Committee and approve the quote for lights from Qualite Sports Lighting at a cost of $273,683, and the quote from K&W Electric at a cost of $69,396 for a total project cost of $343,079 for the East High School baseball field lighting project.
So move. Second.
Any discussion?
So this one last fall was brought to my attention about not having any field lights at the East High baseball field. Currently, this is the only field that does not have lights. The softball field has lights that were put in 2012. Don't quote me on that exact date, but it was installed by Qualite as well. And then as far as West High, they both, baseball and softball, have field lights. So there was kind of some back and forth on what was happening with the whole athletic complex area, but everyone agreed to move forward with installing lights for the field itself. So I reached out to Qualite and Musco Lighting. Musco did West High's baseball and softball field lights when those were installed. Qualite's done, they've got a huge history of references, the city of Grimes, independent schools, Grundy Center schools, LaBar's, and so on. So they're definitely a reputable company, and knowing that we used them for the East High softball, we felt good moving forward with them. As far as the two electrical contractors, we both do work with, K&W is currently doing the WCCX/Central Middle School project, so we felt good with that move as well. Qualite has a 25-year warranty, which covers everything except basically an act of God, and it includes six field poles that are orientated around the baseball field. As such, that the map is included on here as well. This work could be done this fall, is what I was told. I hate to give promises anymore with construction, but I was told they do have some openings in fall at this moment, so that's what we would like to shoot for if the board would approve to move forward.
Approximately how long, once they get started?
From the installation of the pole lights to the electrical trenching and boring, you're looking at about 2.5 weeks.
I'm excited for it. It's a bummer we didn't have it for this season.
And there's some, pros to this. Currently, they play games at 3:30 is what Tim Moses told me, just because of the time if, the game ends and it's still light out. So this would be able to push the time back to 5 o'clock is what he said. So during the heat of the days, that's very crucial.
Well, and parents can come in too.
Yes, some of the conference teams, when their conference teams are 2 hours away and they got to play a 3:30 game, that's really, by the time kids can be missed to schools during the school day for our teams that are coming here to visit, so.
Especially with the travel.
Yeah. Well, the May games, we have some in May before school gets out.
Yeah.
I thought we had a few, anyway.
So the Musco price is a range.
It is.
And the other price is within that range, so how did you?
That was kind of so Musco's been a great company. I know they've got a huge reference as well, but I felt better with having a solid number rather than just a budget number. That Musco lighting was up to $285,000.
Yeah.
So I felt more comfortable with a solid than a, $20,000 range.
I'm surprised they wouldn't give you a...
I agree, yeah.
And do we take advantage of that? I saw it with Qualite have that early discount if we paid 50% up. So do we pay that? So we get, that's $10,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I would be bugging Michael for that one, so.
All right. Any other questions? I think we're taking advantage of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions for Zach?
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor then of accepting the lighting at East High School quotes, please state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Most of the time, I won't.
Okay, that is it for agenda items tonight. We will start with our superintendent and get his report this evening.
All right, well, summer's officially here, but it's actually a really busy week. Today we had summer school started. We also had a leadership retreat for, we probably had 120 plus staff members out at the AA today. Some good work that we're doing. We're working through our strategic plans. We're actually, past history has been that strategic plan work is done throughout the summer and finalized in August. The feedback we got last year was our administrators wanted to move that up. And so we're setting a deadline for them of next Friday to have their strategic plans for next year turned in. We're focused on 3 goals, which will lead me into one of my other things from this week, but the 3 goals we're focused on are academic achievement, obviously, attendance, and culture and climate, which also includes not only staff culture, climate, but also student behaviors. So what that leads me into is attendance, and I know this board has been very vocal about attendance needing to be a priority moving forward. I'm going to share some more about that in my annual review with you. But we do have about 25 staff members attending a conference in Des Moines this Thursday to look at how we can systematically address attendance in our district. Again, I'm hearing that loud and clear from you. From this, we've had a discussion today about some attendance concerns that we have in the district. Chronic absenteeism of our students is higher than it should be. And so, yeah, we're having, across the district, we're having a laser-like focus on how to get kids to come to school more often. So that's an exciting thing for us, like I said. So like, yeah, three things that we're focused on. We're summer school starting up. I also feel good about some conversations. We're going to have some really strategic conversations with high school principals focused on the outcomes of students at middle school, summer school. The feedback I've gotten, we're going to get better at this, is that sometimes when middle school students get done with summer school, we're not having good enough conversations about what are the next steps for those students, depending on how they did it during summer school.
So you like whether they would...
What is it? Yes.
Right.
Yes. Okay. 8th graders. Yes, I should have said that. 8th graders going to 9th. What is the best next step for them, depending on their academic success in middle school and summer school, and then going into high school? So we've got a meeting set up for the end of this month where we have. Like I said, we've got the high school principals and middle school principals coming together and saying, hey, what is the best next step for this student that will set them up for success? So excited for that. But yeah, some really good strategic conversations that we're having. Feel really good about just the steps we're taking to leading into next year. And again, I'm going to share some more of those items when we have our review coming up very soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start tonight with Stacy for board comments.
So I was lucky I got to go spend a day in Aaron Miller's room at Kittredge. The second to last day was their field day, and that was really fun. That's where I went to school. And so the kids wanted to ask questions about what the building had used to be was like before, and they could not fathom what I did with my time without a handheld device. Like, it was just, it was the funniest, longest discussion about, well, what did you, they just seemed blown away that, what did you guys do if you didn't have devices? So that was interesting. I did talk to them a lot about going to the public library this summer, so that there's fun stuff to do there. It is a good time, and getting to walk through the annex again was really cool. And when I was there, several teachers, I had on my tie-dye Waterloo shirt with the school names, and they're wondering if those are available or how that's going to be, if they can buy them, or if that's going to be part of what they get next year. So just, I don't know what that looks like, but they were kind of shirt jealous. And then today, and I won't say too much about it, so leave that for Lyle, but we did get to, Lyle and I had a meeting with Carrie and Jared regarding some new stuff coming up with Expo, and a lot of it did end up focusing on attendance as well. And so I really appreciated having that time and to talk about what they're looking at and what their plans are moving forward and how they want to make that happen. Having attended the Expo graduation, which was so cool, and getting to sit and talk, we closed out the place in the cafeteria, a bunch of counselors and myself, and it was fun. And getting to hear direct input was really helpful. Yeah, that's. Oh, the other thing, they did not know what double Dutch jump rope was, the kids. I was just blown away, so I guess we're going to have to do tutorials in PE now. So.
You didn't bring your advocacy? I would have been mine too, you know, so.
No, they did ask if we were allowed, if calculators, they did ask, and I'm like, but we didn't get to use them. And I asked if they did time tests, and these are fifth graders, and they said they did do them every day in fourth grade. They did time multiplication tests, so.
You're good on Denise.
So I guess whatever fourth grade teachers were happening in Kittrell decided to incorporate that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, I just, I think I'm just going to try to advocate for, I think, we had a real good discussion on counselors here, mental health counselors, but I think a strong feeling on getting more counselor hours on the academic side during the summer, because there's so many things that could happen in summer, where it's working on scheduling, it's working on, at least in the secondary level of, scholarships, trying to, make changes that kind of sometimes get rushed at the start of the school years, where I think if we put some of this work, figure out how to manage the hours, adjust the hours, whatever, to get some more of that work in the summer, because there is, some of the things you realize, I need to really change this class, and some of them want to change direction, and you're kind of stuck in a holding pattern for 3 months, and sometimes we talk about even like anxiety from, am I going to be able to make this change or not, or can I get this in, because everybody's so busy at the start of the year. So I just want to say, I know we got some more hours this year, but it's like, a way to, be able, and not just virtual, like if we need on-site meetings, more virtual, to be able to set that up so that we can have some access to that.
So I told Jesse and I had a text combo back and forth, and we did increase the hours for our high school counselors from 60 hours to 80 hours over the summer, so about 2.5 more days. So that was a step in the right direction.
And then that's incremental improvement, so most time we go through and probably was incremental,
What summer was it that they were there? That was just a couple years ago, but they were there the whole summer, right?
Yeah. I think it was post-COVID, that first year post-COVID, yeah.
Well, it's probably about doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, we need that. But, and I think it is important with what you're saying too, is that we do have our academic counselors within the district too, and this is supplementing that also, so they incorporate, but still we have our academics that we'll focus on with our school counselors versus our mental health counselors, so. India?
I just want to acknowledge the new hires that we are bringing into the district. We're going through a lot of transition, and like anything, it's just being patient, and I appreciate the community being patient with the transition that is happening, but I am, I wouldn't say ecstatic, but I'm looking forward to this change. Like anything, we don't know what's going to possibly happen, but it is change, and I'm looking forward to see what the new people will bring to the table. But the new hires that we have hired, I'm looking forward to the work that they're going to bring, because I know the work they've done previously and definitely fit in greatly. So thank you for that.
And Esther?
I just had a thought. I'm going to pick on some people in the back. I just thought about it randomly. We're going to get an update on how our teachers and support staff are doing. I know you came with some, you would come and give us updates, so we would love to hear how our teachers and support staff are doing, and no, absolutely not. No, not now. And it doesn't have to be next time, just have it on your radar. We'd love to see how they're doing and make sure everything is going well. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Janelle?
When we talk about attendance, one of the reasons that kids come to school every day, especially in junior high and high school, is because they're involved in something. So we need to get kids involved in extracurricular, extra academic things, and make sure that they stay involved in that transition through 8th to 9th grade, and then they have a reason to come to school every day that might get them out of bed in the morning.
Yes, indeed true. Maya?
I think that's spot on. Expand on it just a little. If you look at the data, and attendance is certainly an indicator, but the district attendance and graduation rate and dropout rates is really dependent on what happens at Expo. That's where the big gap is. And they're there for a reason, because they're not fitting well into the traditional, so we don't want it to be a dumping ground. On the other hand, we want it to be a place to go for the services that they provide, and we need to provide those services. So I think that's where we need the most creativity. I don't know if we need a separate strategic plan for Expo, but a separate plan, I guess I'd be interested in seeing more detail in. You know, it needs to be more creative and more flexible, way beyond what we've ever thought traditionally. Piggybacking on the 9th grade, the 8th graders particularly going into 9th grade. You know, I think we need to open up the WCC for summer classes, use that building, construction, agriculture, they can go, drones, music, and then in recreation, social development, there's all this lifelong learning that fits into our PE. You know, bicycle rides with all the instrumentation where you can calculate, do some math. There's, archery. I can't help but mention Ronnie.
I'm sorry, when you said instrumentation, I pictured kids on bikes with sousaphones. I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
No, with their watches or their, and after action, say, basically just the normal health measures. So I think we need a whole new look at that, and yes, I think it's going to take significantly more staff, but we're losing $1 million a year from state revenue, from dropouts. So, part of it, that's not the motivator. The motivator is change the trajectory of kids' lives. But we can do it, and we can afford to do it based on staying in school. And the other thing we probably need to push is the 5-year graduation rate. Really tell these kids, you don't have to graduate in 4 years. You can graduate in 5. And by the way, you can have not only a high school degree, but a certification that in the past you would have had to pay for separately in that other year. So if we look at the whole thing as if we inform them and encourage them to a 5-year graduation program, I think that's some real significant changes are needed. So did you tell them about spitballs? I mean, you had other things that you did.
Well, we talked about how you could get paddled like that. They were, and they were looking at each other like, okay, I'm old, yes, they could still do a paddle when I was there. They could. I didn't have one. But one of the things, because these were fifth graders going into sixth, and they were bummed that there is not school sports for them, because that is something, I know that changed, not a million years ago, it didn't happen that long ago that we got rid of 6th grade sports. I mean, relatively in my life, it used to exist.
No, because when I was K to 6, we didn't have it in 6th grade.
Oh, when the buildings were K6?
K6, yeah, there was not sports for 6. Yeah.
I didn't play school sports.
When I was in there, you only could do 9th grade sports.
I was a gymnast. But the kids and that was one of the things that they were bummed about. And so talking about hooking them, even if we can promote some of the club activities that we have, and we've had a lot of discussion about that. But no, I forgot spitballs. I'll bring it up next time I go to elementary.
Okay, are you done?
Don't bring it up.
Don't bring it up.
There's going to be some teachers pretty mad at you.
Lyle, you good?
I am finished.
Okay. Well, this has been a good meeting, and we have our next meeting on July 10th, and in between there, we'll have the superintendent's review, and we'll have a couple other meetings. We'll get to see each other, but our next public board meeting will be July 10th, and I'm hoping at that meeting that we could potentially have an update on the new busing service and how that's going, because they technically start July 1, is that correct? And just, so whomever that would be, I'd like to know, maybe someone from the busing service come and talk to us and what's going on and how are we going to communicate routes and
And just, I've heard a couple of people excited that we have switched providers, so just to see, and that will be July 10th at 5 p.m. here. And then that would be the last of our 2 months that we have a one meeting, then we're back to August with our regular schedule. So with that said, could I have a motion to adjourn this evening?
So moved. Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I'm going to pose it someday just to do it.